Then the other blonde woman is licking blood off of herself, and he's just like he's disgusted by all these people, all these rich
Yeah,
people.
I was looking up who that was because I was like,
That blonde woman.
that blonde woman.
Wow, for research purposes.
For research purposes, of course, my friend.
I finally
Watched.
I finally
Watched.
I
finally
watched. I
finally
watched.
I finally
Watched.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alon, and I finally watched Lionheart. I say that like it's a huge anticipated movie that we're doing, but like when you suggested Lionheart and it's just like a Van Damme movie, and then you're like, oh, it's not as good as Bloodsport, and we're just doing an action movie. So I'm like, no, man, I really want to give this a try. Like, I really want to go in there giving it a fair shot. And then I'm watching it, and you're like making fun of the beginning, but I actually really liked the beginning. It was like the middle to the end where I was just like, what is this movie? What is it trying to be? Because at times it does feel like it's trying to be Bloodsport again.
Well, I mean, yeah, the opening is very similar. He's in the military and he has to escape to go do this thing he needs to do for his family, right? So
I guess that's true. I kind of forgot that was like a plot point in Bloodsport. Yeah, because you still have the two guys tracking him down, right?
So I just found the opening kind of laughable with the guy getting burned to death, basically, and then screaming out "Leon, Leon," as his wife is there crying. So yeah, I guess I'm heartless, but I don't know. I found little bits
Well,
of
it would
it.
help if the burn makeup was like good.
Well, first, so this is a $6 million movie, made 24 million theaters, probably made a 2 to 3 to 4 times that amount in DVDs, Blu-rays, VHSs. So this definitely was a success. This is my second favorite Van Damme movie, obviously way behind Bloodsport.
Right.
It would be one of my favorite 80s action movies, but this came out in 1990, although it was filmed in the 80s, late 80s, obviously.
I mean, it might as well be 80s. It's like, what's that movie we watched that was like, oh, Pump Up the Volume. You
Yes,
remember
yes,
Pump Up
yes.
the Volume? How it was like, it was a 1990 movie, so it had to have been filmed in the 80s, but it was so drenched in 90s somehow.
This is the
Right?
opposite.
This is the opposite.
80s.
It's 1990s and it's drenched in 80s. It might as well be an 80s film.
So, also not having watched this in decades at this point, my memory was definitely hazy on the end, and I want to ask you what you think happened at the end as far as
Sure.
with Joshua. But this movie has a huge social commentary in it that just went right over my head as a child.
I guess it went over my head too, unless you start like picking at it. I'm like, oh, that's what you mean by it. Because I know you were talking about it earlier. So let's start with that. What do you take as the social commentary of this film?
It's very similar to the movie Parasite. It's about class and status and the rich and how they treat the poor. So he comes over to America. First thing, jumps into the water, swims to New York City, walking around, homeless people everywhere. And he even says, America, like that, talking about the way this place looks.
Yeah.
There's a scene later on where there's just this homeless family and he gives them some money because he feels bad for them.
Right.
And then the whole thing with the lady who like really wants to fuck him and he refuses to. Cynthia is her name. I was like, they didn't use her name until way later in the movie.
Yeah, she's a really cool. I forgot how that song goes. Do you know what song that is?
No idea what you're talking about.
It's from the Rugrats movie because Angelica has the Cynthia doll.
Okay. So there's two possibilities of why he won't have sex with Cynthia. There's one is that there's this sort of like, I got to take the place of my brother thing. And now I love this woman. I don't think that's it.
Okay.
I think he's so disgusted by her richness that he's like, I can't get hard for you. Like I wouldn't fuck you if my life depended on it, because she and all these other rich people treat all these poor people as disposable. She did the same thing with Joshua. She is like pretends to be in love with Jean Claude but then is like, oh, I'm gonna have this guy who I guess Attila rips that dude's legs apart. I don't know how that
Um,
worked.
right.
He has 8 bodies, which I assume didn't mean he won those fights. I assume it meant he killed those people.
Oh, that means he fucked them.
Yeah,
He's-
his body count is 8. It's actually quite low.
It's-
But so I think
I'm
the
not.
movie is laying it on very thick about like the way rich people in America treat poor people, the disparity in like social class between poor and rich. Like I don't I don't think it's even like a question of like the intent of that in the movie. Now whether you think that's a good
Hmm.
idea in a movie called Lionheart, that's up to the audience, but I think it's there.
What is a good idea in a movie called Lionheart?
Like having that sort of social commentary. Like
Oh,
if this is
oh.
if this is the vehicle for those statements.
You also kind of have to look at like where in the military he's from, because I feel like that plays a big part in it too. So he's from the Foreign Legion,
Yes.
right? The
Is it
French foreign
it's the French Foreign Legion, right?
it's the French. I'm looking it up right now. It's the French Foreign Legion stationed in Africa, right?
With a German commander.
With a German commander, but there's a lot of hierarchy and class, um, like domination with that alone, right? Like, especially going from, and maybe it's an immigration piece like that. Maybe that's part of the commentary, where he's going from Africa to New York, and it's like he viewed the like oppression of Africans in Africa, but then he sees like all these people who are like homeless in New York also being black, then maybe he takes like a personal thing. He's like, you know what? At least, well, not at least, but like it's happening here too. Like, what's the difference, right? Maybe that's like part of it. And then with Cynthia, it's just like really slathered on, being like, oh, this super white woman. What is she? Is she German too? Or she
She's hot. That's what she
she's
is.
hot. Yeah. No, but she's definitely like from like a Slavic region of Europe ancestrally, right? Like she's super white. And he's just ultimately being, coming from Africa, being like, this sucks. This sucks all around.
Well, and it's also too a little bit. It's got some Les Miserables, some Javert in there too, because you have these police chasing after
Oh
him
yeah. Yeah.
who are duty bound, even though like in the end they recognize like their duty is fucked. Like what they're doing is not the right thing, and they actually make the right decision. Unlike Javert, who's like, I'm just gonna fucking kill myself.
Well, then,
So
so then you have him like illegally entering the U.S. through the boat, right? The shipping crate or whatever they do. I don't know what they do.
it was like a
Um,
steamship. Yeah,
like
it
a
was just a
steamship,
car.
like
It was just a cargo ship.
import stuff to the U.S. And I was confused too here because he needed to get to L.A., but I was like, wait, so from Africa he traveled all the way to L.A., but it was New York.
Still a treacherous journey.
See, this movie should have been called Rumble in the Bronx. Hmm.
I know. Yeah, you made that comment
Yeah,
to me
yeah,
before.
there it
The other
is.
thing, the other thing I noticed in this, besides Jean Claude Van Damme, do you know who the most famous person is in this movie?
The little girl,
It's the little girl. Yeah. Did you know who that is?
Ashley Judd,
Ashley Johnson, who
Ashley Johnson.
the voice of Ellie in the Last of Us video game, and then
Yes, and she's also in the Avengers movie, but her scene was cut.
she was a waitress, but then she was in Blind Spot for like 100 episodes, and yeah, but like huge amount of work,
Yeah, I was.
152 credits.
So she was, I believe she was like 7 years old in this in Avengers. Like she was like labeled as like what the hot waitress in Avengers that's kind of like crushing on Steve Rogers, but her scene was cut. Like I said, I was like, it either makes this movie feel not that old, or it makes her feel like way younger than I thought. Right? Like it's just weird seeing her as a little girl in a movie that I'm taking like Jean Claude Van Damme actually doesn't look like decrepit, right? I'm just attaching those two things, and it doesn't make sense in my brain.
You know, when we do, she was also in What Women Want. So whenever we do our month of canceled people, that can be our
The one with Mel Gibson.
yeah. She plays
What was
somebody.
she? What Women Want? Because I remember she must have been a little girl in that.
Well, so she was 7 in 1990, and What Women Want came out in 2000. My short math that I just did says she was 17. So
Who did she play?
I don't know. Probably someone.
Hopefully not one of the girls that Mel Gibson was trying to bang.
He probably read her thoughts and was like, too much.
What?
So
What does that mean?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mel about that.
Okay.
I'm not in his mind. So let's start from the top. It starts with just a drug deal gone bad. Some sugar. I guess this guy's name is Francois. He's the brother of the titular Lionheart, and he's gotten himself into some trouble. I was like, is he going to be an undercover cop or something? Like, what is on with this? And it's just a French drug dealer.
I thought they were playing like marbles or something. Like the way he got down on his knees, and I thought he was like going to throw dice. I was like, what's he doing? And he's like snorting sugar. I'm like, why do you have to get on your knees to snort sugar?
And then they're like, and this is gasoline. And he makes no attempt to run, just wipes it off his eyes.
He's like, what is this gasoline? I do not know.
So, and then, yeah, they hear about it in Africa. Oh, there's the insurance expired things. That's another thing about, people can't have health insurance, poor people. So you just got to let this guy die. So then he's in the French Foreign Legion. And he's like, his commander is like, yeah, I didn't tell you about this because you're not going and you have 6 months left, but, we can make it 6 years. Then he's going to put him in the sweat box.
Mm-hmm.
So he just instead runs away through the desert. I don't know where is he Morocco? Maybe? I don't know. The guy kept saying wogs. And I was like, what kind of newfangled racism is wogs? These are slurs I've never heard of. Apparently, it just means non-white person.
You're going to use that. I think you're going to use that from now on.
I don't know. I felt weird saying it right then, so I don't. I think
so.
I
You
think
can't
I'm
just
done.
say you can't say wogs. You have to say it in the German accent. It's like vogs.
Vogs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this might be our last episode, just because if maybe I didn't Google it right. So he gets on a ship, and then he gets into it with the first mate. And the first mate's like, "Yeah, I don't like this. I don't even want to see you on top of the ship anymore." I think partially because he lied to him and said they're going to LA. And then he's like, yeah, we're in New York, but you're not leaving the ship. Like, you don't have papers. I'll report you, whatever. And he's just like, yeah, fuck you.
I like how Van Damme solves all his problems, like the way Van Damme solves all his problems. He just beats the shit out of someone.
Was it Family Guy where it's just kicks? It's Peter Griffin.
Just kicks. Just kicks.
It was a lot of fucking kicks in this movie. You know what I do like about this movie too, as we're going through it? He is not as good a fighter as Bloodsport. He is not a guy who's just beating the shit out of everyone. He's getting hurt quite a bit.
Well, it's kind of like when he escaped the Legionnaire. He just kind of like, that was kind of weird, right? Like he wasn't escaping it like super smooth. Like he was fine. He was getting into like a lot of obstacles trying to get away from these guys. And finally he does, of course, right? But
then he almost dies. He almost dies in the desert.
Then he almost dies in the desert. I mean, this guy is not like...
He's not Frank Dukes.
Savvy.
He's no Frank Dukes.
Right? He's not that savvy.
So when he's like, he's going to win in the end, but when he's like, I can beat this guy, it's like, nothing I have seen from you so far leads me to believe that you can beat the dude who ripped someone by his legs.
Well, the thing is that he might not be a good fighter, but what he lacks in skill, he makes up for in sheer determination and endurance, right?
Yeah, he's a scrappy young fighter.
Yeah.
So in New York, immediately just walking around.
He sees a rumble.
Can't believe
a rumble
homeless...
in the Bronx.
So yeah, we can skip to this scene because the rest of this doesn't matter. I already talked about the social commentary. We don't have to get into it. But goes underneath this bridge, sees two dudes fighting. These guys look like construction workers on their lunch break.
Yeah.
No big deal. They're like, who wants to fight next? He's like, I'll fight next. And then the biggest fucking black guy who's just been hiding in the back is like, yeah, I'll fight this guy. I haven't fought yet today, but I'll fight him. And Jean Claude's like, what the fuck, man? Like, where were you?
Well, then, like, to mirror the ending of this movie, everyone starts placing bets on the big guy.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, to be fair, they probably know this guy. This guy's probably been around their neighborhood, and they're like, we know that he's a good fighter. We don't know this French. What's his name? Leon,
I
Lion.
I also love that Josh was like, "Your name's Leon." He's like, "I cannot let a Leon fight. I gotta fucking what can I come up with? Oh, the lion,
The Lion.
the
The
king of the
Lion.
jungle," which is hilarious too because the Lion King was supposed to be the king of the jungle. That was the original title until they realized lions don't live in the jungle.
Oh yeah, because
S-
it's the Sahara,
No,
Serengeti, the
Serengeti,
Serengeti. Yeah,
Sahara. A lot of lions
Sahara
roam
and
in the Sahara
Sahara.
Desert.
Yeah, I don't know.
So beats this guy what in one punch?
Well,
Is this the
is
one he kicks? Is this the guy he hits in the nuts?
I'm trying to
He hits.
remember because
He,
there's one time where he's about to fight, and they're like, "There's no rules," and he's like, "Okay," and he just clobbers them in the nuts and takes them out in one shot.
I don't think this was the nuts. Maybe the Scottish guy was the nuts. Oh
No, oh, I don't know.
no, no. You know, never mind. It's the next guy. It's Sonny. So beats this guy pretty easily, and he splits up the money with Joshua. And Joshua's like, "You can fight, but you can't count for shit. Give me my money back." So take
I really like this part, and I think this is the part of the story that separates it from Bloodsport, right? Is that his relationship with Joshua and how it comes to be. Like he just kind of starts following him and starts being like really interested in him as like a student almost, right? And also it's like a greed thing, right? Because he sees that there's a lot of money, could be a lot of money, potential money with Leon. And so he starts following him around, and then Jean Claude Van Damme can't give a fuck about him, right? He's just like, I don't, yeah, I kind of need him to like navigate New York, but honestly, whatever. And then the way their friendship develops throughout the story, I find it to be the most interesting part.
anyway. So takes him to the rich people. And he's like, he's already kicked 5 axes tonight to Russell. You know, you can be 6. And I was like, is that bullshit? Or does he actually have 5 fights we don't know about? Like, or 4 fights we don't know about? Or is that just
Ooh, Van
bullshit?
Damme?
Yeah. He tells
No, he
Russell
no because he fights those people who he wants to use the payphone, and he can't. Those
that's after.
those scallions.
That's after. The
That's after
rapscallions? That's
the
after.
rapscallions. That's after. That doesn't seem like it would be after. Okay.
It is because it's when he's riding it's after this fight with Sonny. So he meets the lady who I just have to say, very formative in my growing up as a youth. Just I'll talk about the scene now. At the end, when he is beating Attila in the crowd, and then he holds his fist over him, and then he looks over at Cynthia, and her
Uh-huh.
chest is heaving. Yeah,
Uh,
that'll that'll stay
wow.
in your that'll stay in your mind's eye.
Okay.
So then the other blonde woman is licking blood off of herself, and he's just like he's disgusted by all these people, all these rich
Yeah, I was looking up who that was because I was like,
that blonde woman.
that blonde woman
Wow, for research purposes.
for research purposes, of course, my friend. No, but the um,
It looks like her name is Tracy Shakespeare.
yes, thank you. Okay, and now you saved me a lookup. So when on whatever I was watching this, if you pause it, it tells you like who's all in it.
Yeah,
And so when she's in this scene and I paused it, it loaded up her profile as Tracy. You think any relation to William?
to Bill. Well, he did pen this script as we talked about earlier. So
Oh yes,
her title in this movie was Heckler's Date because
yeah,
the guy with her was Garage Fight Heckler. So yeah, I
sure.
mean, he's as we said, so disgusted by all this. He's gonna fight Sonny, who right before this says in a fight, "Let's do lunch," then kicks a guy in the nuts. His catchphrase, "Let's do lunch," then kicks the dude in the nuts. So Lionheart comes in and he tells him, "Hey, 50% if you win." She bets her entire load on
Mm,
Lionheart because
hmm.
she is betting with her vagina and not her head. She's never seen this guy fight. She's like, "You're hot." Did you notice in this entire movie, Van Damme had like a goose egg on his forehead?
Yeah, so I thought that he must have gotten it like in some fight scene or shot like out of sequence because we never see him get hit on the head, right? And maybe you actually already have the answer to this, but the only time, and I'm not saying everything is shot in order because obviously it's not. And it is kind of funny watching the movie with like noticing the goose egg, and then in the next scene it's gone, and then the next scene it's back. So it's like obviously you can kind of tell what scenes they shot out of order and like, edited in. Um, but I think he got it in the fight with the cops, with the Legionnaires that were trying to bring him back.
Someone's saying it might be a lymphoma. It's like a cyst that he's just always had. It's not even, he's just always had it and I've never noticed it.
Really?
Yeah, maybe he probably didn't have it in Bloodsport though. So yeah,
Interesting, because I thought I saw him get hit in the head during the fight with
I'm sure he got
the
fucking hit in the head. Yeah, but I
the
don't know if that
Legionnaire guys.
you had this whole backstory prepared for that.
Kind of, because you notice it like kind of growing right after that fight. Like he kind of has an scratch on his
Yeah.
head right after that fight, and it's the one where he's fighting the Legionnaire guys and he gets away by like knocking the wooden plank off, and then that like little shed comes down and takes him out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of hit him too, if that's what it is. If it's not, then I just made up the whole thing.
Yeah, he should get that checked out. Although he's probably has at this point. So kicks the guy in the nuts. One shot, just like Bloodsport. It wasn't a kick. I think
It was a punch.
it was a punch straight in the dick.
Have you ever punched a guy in the nuts? Have you ever punched a guy square in the nuts?
No, not in like a fight scenario. You've given a little crotch shot to friends. You know what I mean? What
Sure.
one time one time my Superman punched my friend. So I like dove onto a bed, hit him in the, that was great. He's had kids since, so he's fine. They take him in a limo, talking about all the fights they want him to do, and he's like, fuck that, let me out. He got 5K for this fight, which is pretty good work. I guess if he made 15%, that's 5K. So what, he would have made like 1,700 if he had lost? 1,700 to get your ass kicked? That's not bad money. I mean, so Sonny Dick Punch McGee got $1,700 for that.
Well, how much is $1,700 in 1990? That's what you have to ask yourself.
That'll get you some hookers.
Yeah.
So then they want to use the payphone and they run into this gang. And this is how you find out that Joshua used to be a fighter, because he beats up the main guy pretty easily,
Yep.
as Van Damme handles every other guy except the one who's like, it's your lucky night, and runs away.
Those and like every other rapscallion in this movie are like your typical 1980s rapscallion. Like, hey man, you walk into the wrong neighborhood, and grabs like a pipe.
As he's hitting it against his hand, like menacingly.
Yeah. And there's some like guy in the background, like, fucking with a switchblade or something.
So makes it to LA. I was like, this is just another world where you can fly without an ID across the country.
Mhm.
I guess back then you could buy a ticket for a ticket was literally, you bought a ticket and whoever had that ticket could get on the plane. Just nuts.
You could also, it's like one of those things where you could walk up right up to the gate.
Yeah, we used
be
to,
like, what's the next flight out? Okay, yeah, sure, I'll go.
or you could walk up to the gate and like your family member could come off. You could meet them at the gate. No longer. That's what Al Qaeda took from us. So his brother.
The towers.
Yeah, well, that was the obvious part of it. So his brother died from injuries, and he's like, "Did they catch the guys that did this?" And the doctor's like, "Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't worry about that, but yeah, I think they did." And that's just like robbed us of another tangent where he just goes and kills people that we could have had.
I was wondering if he was gonna like, oh, they caught the guys who did this. What jail are they in?
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah,
he's gonna go all Jack Reacher on them, get arrested. So then he's walking down the street, Joshua just following him, and he's like, fine, Joshua, you can hang out with me, but I need you to find this address because there's no internet. So I need you to look this up and figure it out. And then Helene blames him. You're the reason he got in trouble, and he's like, "No, I didn't fucking do that. Like, I took the rap for him. I don't. I'm not involved in drugs. I took the rap for him, so he wouldn't go to jail because of you." And then she twists it just like a woman. Well, then you should have let him go to jail. It would have been better for him than this. And it's like, all right, I can't
I
even.
don't-
What am I supposed? How am I supposed to
You
argue with
know,
this?
maybe she would have more like, more to stand on if she didn't give her daughter like an Annie haircut. But that's fine.
Really did not set her up for success. The child acting in this was not her. She was fine. Was pretty bad when she rides up to the two kids and she's like, "Do you like my bike?" There's like a 5-second pause, and then the girl's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, are those kids gonna
Talk to
rob
her.
Ashley Johnson and steal her bike? Like,
Or they're like, "Yeah, we don't fucking like you.
this is
Like,
like
please stop talking to us."
exactly. This is like this is like a really poor neighborhood, right? So it's like, is this little girl gonna get her bike jacked?
And then the mom won't accept the money. She's like, "Oh, your morals are more important than your daughter having a fucking place to stay." Like, great, great job.
Just like a woman.
So, no, I wouldn't. I would never say something like that.
What?
So,
No, what?
well, I never have, never will. So then he gets drunk at a bar, takes him to what, the St. James Hotel. That's probably a place you're familiar with, being out in LA. Did you ever see that place?
I don't know the St.
Is
James
that still
Hotel.
around?
I
Who
don't
knows?
know.
So goes in. He's like, Joshua's like, "Yeah, it's just a nice hotel. We just a friend of mine. Who could it be?" And I noticed there's like workout equipment in the one room.
Yeah.
So then you wake up to the lady doing lat pull downs at like
I'm
7 a.m. in the
down.
morning.
I'm so down.
Yeah, well, I mean, that
I
figure
like how he
doesn't
looks at
create
the
itself.
painting, the like erotic painting of her, and he's like he's looking at it and not a word is uttered, but you know what he's thinking, right? He's like, is that Cynthia? No.
No,
What?
that I'm drunk. That can't be. And he's butt ass naked. Once again, like Bloodsport, another similarity. You get to see his ass. It's looking pretty good in this too. I think
Um
better.
he what he didn't go to sleep naked. You realize that?
No.
He
No,
was
I
like,
did, yeah.
"Where's my clothes?" And she's like, "I put them in the like what?" She like gave him to the laundromat. She gave him to the hotel.
I think she threw him away.
Oh, yeah, she's like, "I burned those."
Yeah, those
He's
were
like, "You burned
disgusting.
my clothes?"
Just to give us like a shopping montage that we didn't need in this movie.
Did we? Oh my god, yeah, we did.
Unnecessary. But once again, he's like hates this.
Right, right.
He's like, "I don't want this. I don't need this." So then she's like, "People are still talking about your fight." And he's like, "Let them talk. I'm not your toy to play with." Then it cuts to a scene where the Legionnaire guys are staking out, and it just plays like Middle Eastern Arabic music as like their music cue when it shows them. It's
The
like
two whitest guys.
that's
Except
no,
Mustafa.
no,
Mustafa's something.
they're both something.
No,
They're
the
both.
other guy's pretty white.
Is he?
Yeah.
His name is, so there's an Irish Legionnaire, Vo, Vojislav Govedarica, I
If
think.
that isn't the most Italian Eastern European name I've ever heard.
He was born in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Yugoslavia.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
pretty
he's
white.
Yugoslavian. Whereas Mustafa, his name is Michael Michel Kisi.
It's the most
He
Arabic name
befriended,
I've ever heard in my
yeah,
life.
I think he befriended a young Jean Claude Van Damme. So I liked him. Oh, wait, is that a different guy? No, that's Mustafa. Yeah, here they are fighting him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, pretty, you know, I believe that we've said this before. The Hollywood in the '90s and early 2000s, those were ethnically ambiguous and could be put in a lot of positions.
I thought you were gonna say Hollywood in the early days were like, is that a woman with a hijab? And then it's like cue the music. It's like
Well, and then put the yeah, don't do that, and then put the filter over the camera.
yeah,
Just
and those like
yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but those like heat waves that come off like the wavy
Yeah, yeah.
lines that like
But the other
yeah.
thing is the French Foreign Legion has like all national. It's like the UN, right? Like anyone can join. You know, what I mean, you don't have to be a certain thing. You know what I'm saying? So
It's just it's like the World Cup. It's like the French team of the World Cup, honestly.
There's not many black guys. I didn't see many black guys in the French Foreign Legion. So,
Well, they were in Africa, so they couldn't, take from,
so he then follows the sister. Yeah, I guess I'll just call him sister, Helene, and the daughter to
sister-in-law.
school, and then there's just gang members being held at gunpoint by the police. More of that commentary.
Yeah, more of the commentary, man.
Then he walks by the homeless people, gives them money, and now he's like, I want to fight. He says, I'll do it, and he's like, I mean, I'll fight, and she's like,
Yeah,
that's not
damn.
what Cynthia wanted.
You know what though? I wonder, would she have paid to have sex with him as much as the fight? Like, how bad does she want it? And then it's like, would that be easier for him to do than fight?
Well, you're not supposed to do both, right? Because that'll take your edge. You know what I mean?
That's one of the things I actually really liked about this movie was small details like that, where he's like, I can't stay in this really nice hotel because if I'm going to be a fighter, this is going to make me like too soft. This is like cushy bed, blah blah blah. This is like too nice. She's like, I got just the thing, which doesn't make any sense. And like now, like thinking back about it, because it doesn't cut to like him moving into like a cell with like a concrete bed. It cuts to the next fight with like the cars surrounding the arena and him fighting the Scottish dude.
I think he just didn't want to be near her. I think he was just like trying to get away from her, and it was just a
Yeah, but
bullshit.
isn't that a weird transition? He's like, I can't stay here. It makes me too soft. Just cuts to the next fight.
Yeah, I mean, we do kind of see where he's staying though. It's like someplace with Joshua, but yeah, I mean, I take your point. So it's the Scottish guy. Obviously, make fun of him wearing a dress.
Got to. It's a early 90s, late 80s movie. You got to make fun of the kill.
So I always notice this in these type of movies and fighting movies, like the progression of the fights. The first one's always a very easy fight for the guy we like, our protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make the fights tougher as they go along. So the second fight, how is the Scottish guy going to compete with the muscles from Brussels? And he cheats and pokes him in the eye. It's not really cheating. Protect yourself at all times, but it's a dirty move. Thumb in the eye, so the fight lasts quite a bit longer, and then he finally beats the shit out of him.
I do enjoy the rich people's cars getting fucked up. I'm like, what do you expect? Right? Like, I mean, I don't know if like they're just so rich that they're like, yeah, you can fuck up my car. I'll just, get it fixed or get a new one. But like they seem genuinely upset. I'm like, okay, well, what do you expect? You go in there with your expensive car and you're going to like, people are going to bash up against it. It's a fucking fight.
Yeah, I don't think they expect bad things to happen to them. So then we get the scene where Josh pretends to be a guy from an insurance policy that she didn't know about. And so he's like, you're going to get a check every month, which I don't know how they expected these checks. He was going to fight this much every month.
Yeah.
And he's like, one thing, get the little girl a bike. Then the next fight is on a racquetball court with a huge fucking dude. And he's getting his ass kicked again, but he kicks the guy through the glass. Pretty cool.
At this point, it's kind of a montage. So
Yes.
it's like they couldn't last like too long on this fight. You kind of have to just show him like getting into fights, winning the fights. They do get a bit tougher, but it's not like you think he's going to lose in the montage, right? Like he's going to win in the montage.
So then he gets caught by the Legionnaire guys, kind of gets some damage to his ribs, pays the doctor not to tell anybody, and I'm like, that doctor's not allowed to just tell random people about this anyway, but I guess you don't know that. So
It didn't make that doctor seem like, hey, I'm not a people doctor. I'm like an underground vet doctor that like takes care of like illegal fight people, right?
Yeah, he seemed like the type of doctor who's like, yeah, I'll just pay me in cash.
He also seems like the type of doctor that's like, I'll write you whatever prescription you want if you just give me money.
That's true. Yeah, that's
Um,
definitely true.
so we're coming up to the pool fight, right? We
Yes.
haven't skipped that. Okay. But so let's go back to the Legionnaire fight. Surprisingly more tough than I thought it would be for him.
Well, because I think you're expecting something from like Bloodsport, where he just like it's a Mentos commercial as he runs away from them,
Yeah, that's true. I
and he's.
guess I was. I was like, this isn't supposed to last
Someone
that
needs to
long.
make that into a Mentos commercial.
We
That
can
is
do it.
total.
We
Then
can do
fucking
it
do
on our,
it.
you need to just tell me the clip. Tell me the clip and I'll make it. I'll like superimpose, Mentos.
You just need the time.
I could pull the clip from YouTube or something. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we gotta make that happen. It's too good. So the pool fight, probably besides the Attila fight, is like the best fight. That's just like the set of that fight is so cool.
Well, hold on. I just want to go back to the Legionnaire fight for a second because there's two really kind of cool points to this. One is he does kind of have the upper hand. I feel like if it was a one-on-one fight with either of these guys,
Yeah.
but the fact that it's both of them, and then remember the part of the fight where they're like in a tiny little hole in the ground?
Yes.
Like that is not his element. Like close quarter combat, Van Damme needs like room to
Needs
like
to learn
move
some.
around and kick,
He needs some. Yeah, he needs to take some Krav Maga if you want to.
Right. And then he's like, he really does not have the upper hand here, but then he like kicks a piece of wood and has like a shed fall on them. And then who's there to like pick him up and take him away?
And then they have like a whole conversation too. He's like, "Hey, you need to tell me about these guys." He's like, "Well, I guess you didn't tell me about following me." And it's like those guys are gonna scramble. Like, get in the fucking car. You guys can have
Right.
this discussion later.
So do you know who that is?
His name is Brian Thompson. He is in the what's that? Finish him. Mortal Kombat.
He's in Mortal Kombat. But Jean Claude Van Damme is also in Mortal Kombat.
Is he?
No, not Mortal Kombat. I'm thinking of Street Fighter. Jean Claude Van Damme's in Street Fighter.
Those are the exact same thing.
That's a video game movie. But yeah.
Can we talk about the fucking pool fight?
Yeah. Let's talk about the pool fight. Let's talk about their tiny little swimsuits.
I mean, those are actually covering a lot more for men than could be. So, I mean,
I wasn't talking about the men.
Nice. So just perfect design for having a little bit of water in the one end. The guy he's fighting has long hair, so he can do the hair toss not once but twice over to get the hair out of his face, and almost gets drowned. But he is just he's able to win in the end. And then afterwards, Cynthia's like, "Who the fuck is Helene? Are you fucking her?" Like,
Yeah. And she even questions
well, she asked Josh about it, I think.
she asked Joshua about it. She's like, "Is he fucking her?" And Joshua's like one of the best lines, like, "You're a cold bitch."
Yeah, it's good shit. Good shit from Joshua. Joshua's the man. So actually, you know what? We skipped forward. So the scene with the Legionnaires happened after this because they ran after him before, and then when they actually get to him and break his rib is after the pool fight. But whatever. So we already talked about it.
I said that. I said that might be the
Yeah. Well,
sequence of things, but okay.
we all make mistakes. So then he goes to Helene with Joshua's help, and he's like, "You have to get out of here." And she's like, "Mommy, is he still a stranger?" "No, he's your uncle." He picks her up and hugs her, and then buys them a ton of food. And she's like, "Well, since none of this is real food," and like she pulls out a box of Twinkies. It's like he bought food for like a fucking teenager.
I think this would be a good time to mention my embarrassing moment that I talked to you about already in this movie. It's where I thought that his brother, Francois, was also played by Jean Claude Van Damme. I thought this was like they were twins.
Yes.
And maybe I'm racist, that I think all French people look the same. But I could have sworn that in the beginning it was Jean Claude Van Damme getting gasolined. And I was like, why doesn't anyone mention, like, throughout this entire sequence with like Ashley Johnson and the sister-in-law, I'm like, why doesn't anyone say like, you look like my daddy? Or like, why do you have my daddy's face? Right? Because he gets burned, and I was like, oh, is it like a face-off scenario where he has to like take place of his brother in these fights where like he used to do them, but then he got his face burned, and now it's like it's Leon's turn. That's not the plot of the movie at all. But yeah, I thought they were twins. And then I was so confused on why no one was mentioning that they were twins. And then you so kindly informed me that they were in fact not twins.
Francois was played by Ash Adams, who was a actor slash filmmaker according to his IMDb.
Okay.
So now we meet Attila, and we're watching a video of Attila toying with a guy and then ripping him apart. The Legionnaires are there, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to just allow this to happen." And the response from the lead guy, Sergeant Hartog, "Can we watch?" And she just laughs. She has like the most evil, over the top laugh.
Remember that scene where he was like, "Oh, if I get this enough money, like I'm gonna take Helene out. I'm gonna take you, and I'm gonna take Cynthia out of here if she wants to." And Josh was like, "You're a fucking simp."
That's a
Like,
weird. That's that also like that line is so dumb. That should be taken out of this because like the contempt he shows for her in this entire movie, for then him to in this one little bit to think like, oh no, she's a part of this system too. She needs to be saved is just fucking stupid.
it's stupid, right? It
It's
like
dumb.
really takes you out of the movie, kind of.
Yeah, it's not something I really remembered either. So
Well, because it's like a throwaway line. Like he gives this huge speech about getting his sister-in-law and his niece and Joshua like out of this city and like into like a safe space. And then Joshua says something like, "You don't have to do that." And then he's like, "I'll take Cynthia out of here too." Like a quick line. Joshua's like, "You just don't get it. She's a fucking bitch. Why are you doing this?"
that's actually when I realized her name was Cynthia in this movie because I was like, I had to look it up. I was like, who's Cynthia? Because they just like called her the
Just
lady.
throws it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So she picks him up at the new house and is like at Helene's new house. She immediately knows where they are, and she like, hey, the next fight. She's drunk. The next fight we could retire on, so don't fuck it up. Go to this rich place. I have this tape. I had to smuggle it out. Watch the tape, and it's just the parts where Attila's getting his ass kicked because she's trying to trick all the other betters into like getting the action up. She's almost like setting this fight up to screw people over. So
Oh, big time. She's like telling people like, "Hey, I'm putting my bets down on Lionheart. You better put your bets down on Lionheart, you know?"
so Attila shows up, white fluffy cat, bodyguards that he's bigger than all of them. And then Lionheart's like, I took all my money and put it on myself. And Joshua's like, dude, you don't need to do this fight. Like Attila has killed 8 people. And this is where he says, like, I'll take you away and everyone away and Cynthia away. And he's like, you think Cynthia gives a fuck about you? No one gives a shit about you except you. And this is like, they add this little wrinkle to the end of the movie where, like, is Joshua going to sort of betray him? And I always thought that Joshua, yeah, I always thought, no, Joshua bet on Lionheart. And then it's like, no, he didn't.
He didn't. No.
Yeah. Maybe it's the way I wanted to remember it. But no, he put all the money on Attila, which is where we get the line, wrong bet.
I think that's like kind of a cool reveal, right? Like you think it's kind of like the trope is like everything is stacked against him, quite literally, right? All the bets are stacked against him. I think it's also pretty great that you don't know 100% like what's going on, but like as Jean Claude Van Damme is finding out, like, oh, Cynthia betrayed me, then you as the audience, you're also figuring out, like, oh shit, she didn't bet on him.
Yeah, I almost am wondering, was there like a scene where, like, you know how they have TV versions of movies where there's a scene where he like at the end tells him like, hey, no, I actually bet on you, because it's so weird like that I remember it this way.
I mean,
it
was implied.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. It's so weird. Like just my memory of it is so, it's like the Mandela effect, but like very small potatoes because like no one else is like remembers it. If anyone is listening to this and remembers it this way. So the fight happens and Van Damme walks in, sees the Legionnaires, and then immediately looks over at Cynthia and knows, like, oh, you fucked me on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're trying to get me killed. And even before this, Joshua too was like, who are you betting on, Cynthia? She's like, because I remember how you did me. And then she's like, just bet on whoever you want. You have 5 minutes. So Attila toys with him in the beginning of this fight, but is actually taking some damage because he gets pissed about it. And then Attila starts beating the shit out of him. And then Joshua says, stay down. We bet all the money. Cynthia bet against me. And then he says, stay the fuck down. I made a deal 50-50 while everyone has bet on Attila. Wrong bet. And then
But that implies that he's also bet on Attila, right?
he's just saying, like, everyone knows Attila's going to win. So,
Okay.
I mean, he's not saying yours. So, this is really the only fun fact I want to say before we end this, before we get to the end of the movie. I mean, we're sort of there, but because this was like an independently financed movie, this film was released under one of 5 titles, depending on the country, because the film was independent and they just sold it to various distributors, and distributors just called it whatever they wanted. So,
Makes sense.
Lionheart, Full Contact, which I think was the French name, AWOL, Absent Without Leave, which I think was the English name, Wrong Bet, and then Leon.
I think wrong bet's like my favorite one.
But in the end, it's like one of those things. It makes the movie kind of hokey.
It does. I
To
was
me.
being sarcastic. It is
Yeah.
literally the worst one.
Yeah.
So there's a line in the movie where he's like Joshua is kind of ramping up Jean Claude Van Damme, right? And I wrote it down and I sent this to you. We already talked about this, but I wrote it down because it is literally the worst. The line reading was actually good. Like Joshua made like a very bad script pretty good in his delivery. This has to be probably the worst line ever written in 1990. He goes, "You got a big heart, Lionheart, and you're strong as a lion." Oh boy.
I don't know what your point is here. I think that's good writing. That's
That's
what
good
I want
writing.
in movies, because it explains it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you've got a big heart. That's why you're called Lionheart, and also
Yeah,
the lion part,
you're
like
strong.
you're really strong.
Yeah,
And then not like a lion, you sleep for like 20 hours a day.
right. And in the Serengeti, it's like, can you apply
You're
that
from
line?
Africa. You're from Africa.
You're from Africa. That's also a bonus there. Can you apply this line to like any other like movie? Like he goes to Batman. It's like, you got a big heart, Batman, or you got a big man, Batman,
No.
and you're strong like a bat.
You know why I called you Lionheart? Because you have heart and you're strong. Yeah, I don't know. So, wrong bet. Mustafa starts cheering for him. He kicks Attila, and then Attila points at him and he kicks his hand away, kicks him into the audience, kicks Russell in the face. This is all fucking kicks until then he starts beating him. I already said earlier, Cynthia's chest heaving, the breath.
I'm gonna have to go back and just watch that part.
That's fucking Oscar worthy right there. And then he wins. He doesn't hit him again. And then he's like, great fight. Your family's going to be okay. They take him to see his family. Oh, by the way, Cynthia like trying to get the fuck out of there. And then you just hear the guy on the radio, don't let that bitch leave.
Yeah. And then they pull her
She's like,
back in.
I have the money,
I swear. It'll be in my account tomorrow.
I wonder, did she bet 250,000? Like, what did she bet?
Well, I
That
mean,
she's like,
doesn't that mean like she would have won like 15 million, but she only has to pay? I mean, like, she can afford $250,000, right?
that's why I feel like she had to bet way more than because she thought this was a sure thing. So she had to bet way more than $250,000.
Wrong bet. And how much did he get off with?
Well, if he was making like $5,000 off that first fight, but then he's got a bigger name, so maybe he's making like 10 to 20K per fight.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say he has like 50,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then the odds I think were pretty good. So maybe he made off with like it said it was like 1.5 to 3.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how underground. I don't know how the odds worked on that. If you bet 50 on 1.5 to 3, that's like half. What do you made? What do you doubled? What do you triple? I don't
I
understand.
don't know. Okay.
I'm not a gambler. So
tell that to our Uncut Gems episode.
I was pretty good on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some gambling, but I don't.
Right.
Yeah, the odds. Yeah, I'd get my fucking shirt handed to me. So then Nicole is like, "Don't leave, don't leave." She's so mad at him. The car drives off, and I was like, "What the fuck is the point of like driving 500 yards away and then making him run back just to like just let
I
him go?"
thought that because I thought they didn't make up their minds until 500 yards away.
Their acting didn't lead me to believe that. What it almost made it seem like was like they'll believe he ran away, and then I don't know, it's stupid. Like, we'll just say he died, I guess, is obviously what they had. Like, he died. I don't know. But
Yeah, we can't, or we just couldn't
we
find
just
him.
needed him we needed him running back a la Rocky. There's a lot of Rocky vibes in this, like a lot of the running scenes
get
with the
that.
hoodie and
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I wonder if they like shot each other in the leg to make it more convincing. Like how
like
he got
Family Guy.
away. Like Family Guy. I was gonna say like Scream. But the yeah, I I don't know how I feel about that ending. He's
I
good
like
now?
I like them letting him go
Okay.
because it's a Javert ending. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, that
Yeah.
my whole thing I've thought is wrong, and also my boss can't check my work here. How's he gonna know? He's not gonna know.
That's true. Well, that's what I'm saying. I was like, they can either say he died, or they can say he's elusive. He got away from
But
us.
there's
You know.
no need to make him run back. The guy's been through quite a bit, so that's kind of a dick move. So when I started watching this, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to be as good. I thought it was actually pretty great. It's going for a lot more than you would think in a movie like this, and I think a lot of it sticks. I get the point of it. The fighting is pretty good, not as good as Bloodsport, but pretty good stuff. We get a few of the Van Damme screams a la Bloodsport. It was like we get a few of those, not as many as I would have liked, but overall, this is pretty good. I'd rate it 4 out of 5 kicks, I think.
So then Bloodsport is 5 out of 5 kicks.
Bloodsport is 10 out of 5 kicks.
Can I
Bloodsport
ask you
is
something? You asked me to kind of like keep an open mind in the beginning of this, and you're like, I don't know if you're gonna like this or think this is too hokey. Were you talking about him trying to escape the Legionnaire, or were you talking about like the whole like his brother got burned with gasoline shtick?
I just I thought the opening I was like that's a little melodramatic for me. And I was but then
Okay.
and it was also just all a setup to get him to come here to fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like
I this is what I felt like comparing it to Commando. I feel like Commando didn't need much of a setup to like you understood what was happening. This needed like a step by step, fucking instructions manual to be like, this is how he gets here. And I think that the beginning is kind of horribly paced and long winded, but I think once the movie starts, it's really good. But the whole movie is melodramatic. And I think that's kind of part of like what makes it work is that
it
you
takes
understand
itself very
it
seriously.
takes itself very seriously, and you're just like you're okay with that because it's through from the beginning to the very end of the movie. And maybe I don't give it as high of a score as you do, but I think for what that type of movie is, I think it does it really well.
I think
But I think I am I comparing it to Bloodsport, or am I comparing it just to like Commando for this month?
whatever your heart desires. I like from what I'm hearing is like you're becoming like a Van Damme guy now, is what I'm hearing.
I think I am. I think because I watched Double Impact in a hotel room once, and I was like really into it, and I was just like, is this
These
maybe
you know
like
what
is
this
this movie's
is?
good?
This is our Bollywood.
Oh,
Like if you got
80s
to
action flicks are our U.S. Bollywood.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I think you have to suspend the disbelief and believe in the world as told to you by Van Damme and to a lesser extent Steven Seagal.
I feel like if you want to throw Jackie Chan in the mix, which we are about to
You know,
do.
Jackie Chan's from a different country than America.
No, I understand
We've
that, but
sort of
like
adopted him as our own, but
no, what I kind of meant is I was comparing the Rush Hour movies to like Bollywood movies, and I feel like that's like a more refined.
But and that's also got the comedy.
That's true. That does have the comedy, like heavy-handed comedy with Chris. But
Well, I think there are a lot of first of all, there's a lot of Bollywood movies that aren't this type of movies. I think the ones that make it over here that we see like memes from and stuff are a lot of these, but they're also riffing off of our stuff too. You know what I mean? They're riffing off of the Rush Hours, the Jackie Chans. You know, when they have like
no, for sure, for sure. But like a movie like this, though, is riffing off of like 70s and 80s kung fu movies, also, right?
yes,
So it's like a riff off a riff off a riff, but with each with its own, new twists, and I think it makes it work. But no, I like your comparison a lot. I agree with you, and I think going into more of like from Schwarzenegger to Van Damme to Chan, and then ending on Stallone for this month. I think it gives us a very wide variety of like what is an 80s action movie if not a super buff foreign guy without a shirt.
By the way, African Legionnaire was Billy Blanks, who a lot of people may know. He did like the Taibo videos, the VHS videos. It's like a workout thing.
Oh,
And then the guy that heckles him at that first fight is a producer. You want to know the top 4 movies he produced according to IMDb?
go ahead.
Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, Reservoir Dogs, Inglourious Bastards.
Now that you mention it, he kind of acts like Quentin's character from Pulp Fiction a little bit.
I didn't hear one N word. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alon, and I finally watched Lionheart.